This isn't what I wanted to see whenever I open up the clutch master cylinder, but nothing we can do about it now, so let's go ahead and let's fix this clutch today. Hey guys, Ogden Restorations. We are back with the 1988 GL1500. This episode, we have a clutch that isn't working. If I sound stuffy, I am. I'm sorry, I think I got like the flu or something. But we're going to get through it. See, we have no pressure on the clutch lever right here. There is a screw missing from the clutch reservoir, so I have a sneaking suspicion that it's going to be doing with the master cylinder for this clutch. How you bleed the clutch is there's a little screw down there underneath the alternator. If I can get the camera to show it. I will show y'all a better view of it. That cover's kind of covering it now. But it does look like a bleed screw on the brake caliper because it's the exact same screw. Just a quote-unquote bleed screw. Here's a better picture of it. Hopefully it has a little rubber cap on it. Keep dirt and debris from getting inside there. But it's just that little nipple out underneath the alternator. Here in my hand we have a brand new master cylinder that we got off eBay. I want to say it was like 30 bucks, 40 bucks. I bought this for the last Goldwing restoration I did and did not use it. So if I have to use it for this, I can. The size is pretty comparable. But we are going to try to rebuild the master first. But that's what one looks like on eBay. Like I said, it was about $30, $40. Didn't mean to do that. Let's go ahead and let's get into it. I went ahead and screwed it back in. As you see, it should have 2 screws, but this one's only had 1, which makes me eerie that there's been dirt and debris and stuff get in here. Again, these are JIS screws, so use your JIS screwdriver, and let's see how the inside looks. And if you've messed with motorcycles or anything like that, then you know that these brake fluid master cylinder screws are some of the worst at stripping out. So, gotta be careful. Put a lot of torque on them at the beginning. Soak it in some WD-40, but these are really easy to strip out. So, just be careful. This really wasn't what I wanted to see, but as you see, there's a lot of corrosion and dirt and grime in there. So this master cylinder is probably heavily clogged up. We're just going to go ahead and wipe away all the big debris that we can. As you see, it looks cleaner now. But my fear is that there's still the dirt and debris inside the cylinder. So we're going to pour some .4 brake fluid as per the manufacturer's recommendations. And we're going to just try to bleed it, see what happens. And when you know it, if it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have luck at all. So, we're pumping, not building any pressure. We're going to go ahead, see if we're getting any fluid down to the bleed screw.
I'm sneaky like the little fox. You'd have to use your dynamite if you wanna.
Now, if you can take your bleed screw off, you don't get any fluid, something's probably not right. So, we know we're not getting fluid. Let's get it off. Let's go rebuild the master cylinder on the bench. I am going to speed a lot of this up. I will be making a tutorial eventually on how to clean your clutch master cylinder and bleed your clutch. But this is just going to be sped up, since this isn't a quote-unquote tutorial style video. Just remember when you are taking off the banjo bolt that there is brake fluid in the reservoir most likely, and in the lines. So put some rags down to catch it before you take it off. And remember, if yours is an Aspincate or an SC, you have a cruise cancel switch wire, and then you also have, your regular clutch switch wire. So you just got to remember, these have a few extra wires as compared to a, universal clutch master cylinder. The banjo bolt will fit, but it may not have all the electrical connections whenever you're buying a new one if you're going to replace it. I bought the wrong one. The one I bought, the one I showed earlier, it did not have the extra electrical connections since this one has cruise control. So it's just something I messed up on, something to keep in mind whenever you're shopping for a new one if you are planning on buying a new one. Here I just wanted to show y'all guys a better view of how disgusting the inside was. So it's a very technical system right here. Trying to get my phone to focus for y'all. I looked for this video but I couldn't find it, so I guess I just deleted it after. But as you can see, there's a ton of dirt and crud in there. It's just nasty. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna clean all that out. Your piston in your master cylinder, it is held by a snap ring or a C-clip or a circlip. A few different names for the exact same thing, so you're gonna need some snap ring pliers or some circlip pliers, some C-clip pliers. There's a lot of names for it. But I've got the blockage. I'm going to clean mine without removing the piston. But I'm just working all the stuff through. I'm stealing a wire from a wire brush just to run it through that little passageway to manually clear out the block. And then I'm just manually agitating everything with the paintbrush. But again, if you're using brake parts cleaner, just be careful, especially if you're using a chlorinated variety. Put off some nasty fumes. And now we're just replacing the O-rings. And if I do say something wrong, I'm doing most of these narrations at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, so I might have forgotten something I did during that day. So leave a comment, and again, I don't know everything, but I do know these Goldwings decently well. But just let me know what I missed, if I missed something. But I got that lever on, and now we are going to try to build some pressure with it. getting more and more crud out of there, you know, and we are kind of building some pressure, as you can see right here. So there's enough pressure to squirt some brake fluid. At this point, you do know that the piston is moving and making pressure. Again, there's still some crap and crud in there that we're going to go ahead and we're going to get taken care of. We're going to clean all that. And then we just got to put it back on the motorcycle. Banjo bolts, a few hex heads, and then a few wires. And that's really all it takes to put one of these back on. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Now we're going to bleed it. This clutch you bleed just like a brake. And you can use gravity to your advantage since the master cylinder is higher than the clutch slave cylinder. But as you can see, we're pumping it up. We are getting some bubbles. And if you think about it, the bubbles theoretically should travel upward. You know, the bubbles want to rise to the surface. So eventually, if you keep pumping that lever, you will get all the bubbles out. But we're going to take the easier route of just opening the bleed screw. Again, it's right underneath the alternator. It's going to be a nipple just like you see on the brake calipers. We got our little fluid catcher hooked up. We think we have another blockage right here, so we're going to use a vacuum pump. This one you can pressure it up to about 30 inches of mercury, but it has a warning on it saying that you don't need to pressure it up more than 20 for brake systems, otherwise it can cause damage. So what I'm doing right here is I'm just opening it up, engaging the vacuum. I had to change tips right there. Got to find the tip that has the proper seal. And then we're just opening it when we get fluid. So as you see, we got some fluid right there. So this vacuum pump successfully cleared the blockage. I'm not really a fan of vacuum pumps personally. I would just rather bleed it like normal. It can speed up the process and it is good to have around for something like this scenario. But now we are getting a lot of fluid through, so the blockage is cleared. Was it a blockage from the piston of the master cylinder? It could have been, or it could have been a blockage that was in the line already. You know, in the beginning we weren't getting any fluid through at all. So we could have just been loosening up that blockage. Who knows, we might not have had to clean it, and we could have just used the vacuum pump. And that would have worked, but at the end of the day, it needed to be cleaned. I mean, you saw the inside of it. So now we're just going to go back to bleeding it with our normal system. As you see, we are getting a good amount of fluid, and our clutch is building pressure properly. It does feel nice and firm. We're just going to finish bleeding and getting some of that old fluid out, and we're going to call this a success. Again, we won't know if it is till we're able to test drive it, but that is very far down the road. It's quite a few more things that we got to address. But as you see, still getting a few air bubbles. So I'm just going to keep pumping up the system till all the air bubbles get out and we get good pressure. So we're still getting some air bubbles. This can take a long time. I'll spare y'all all of it. So we got the clutch done, theoretically. Again, we're going to find out on the test drive. But as far as that goes, that's all we got for you today. We do got a nice firm lever now. It does feel properly tight. Feels like you have to put the proper amount of tension. We have a little freebie wire hanging out right here. What secrets do you have? Just going to put you back in your cover. So next episode, we're going to be going over the starter. Whenever we hit the starter, we're getting a click like it's a starter solenoid. But we're going to find out pretty quickly it is not the starter solenoid. So stay tuned for that. Again, thanks for watching. This is Octane Restorations. This was the 1988 GL1500. And we'll see you on the next one.